Webinar number 11. Today we're going to be showing off our new program. With me today is Keith Gaitan,
Hello,
Jose
everybody.
Pasamato, and John Pasamato.
Hey, how you doing?
Are you guys excited?
Very.
John, you're such a lucky
I
dog,
do.
man.
Yeah.
You went out our first day of launching this product, and you pretty much proved that this is probably the easiest sale. This is the gold rush that you guys need to jump on. So Keith, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the reins. Show
All
us what
right.
you got, buddy.
Okay, let me show you what I got so far. So, I know many of you are like, we're not in the automotive industry, we're in this disruptive technology business, and we know that, but this is something that you don't need to know anything about the automotive industry at all, but has the potential to bring you guys in a tremendous amount of money in a really short amount of time with zero monthly maintenance. It's sell it and forget it, ultimately. So ThinkALease, right? The key here that we're going to get into, the key is used car leasing. I've never heard or never been offered the ability to go lease a used car ever. And that's why I was like, this is something that consumers have been dying for, but didn't know that they could ask for it because it didn't exist. But now that it's going to exist and there's a reason for it and it's the right time for it, we're the only act in town that have a used car leasing program. So let me get into some of these stats for you real quick and go over some stuff. Leasing is now the new norm. Over 30% of new vehicles sales are leased, and that number continues to grow, expanding to used in CPO with our product. It creates a bond between the dealer and the brand and the captive, i.e. the bank, by servicing the account and the vehicle. That is the beauty of a lease. That is why many dealerships and why there's been a big surge in vehicle sales since '09 and the depression, and everyone's been trying to recoup everything, is doing it through leasing. Right, over 4 million units are coming back on market this year, and it continues to grow. It's almost doubled the amount of cars that came back in the market leased in 2 years. It was like 1.5 million, now it's up to 4 million units, and it's going to be 4.3 million units next year being turned back in. So and I'm going to go into, there's a report that was done by Edmunds, there's a report that was done by Bloomberg about, this is basically what's going to happen right now. This is the car sale bubble is going to burst, or is bursting now, just like the housing bubble burst. And those that could get in there and do something with the burst bubble are going to clean house. I don't know if you guys saw that movie with, what was it, Brad Pitt and them on Wall Street, and they saw the bubble was about to burst. Bubble's about to burst. The market's going to be flooded with used cars, and that's going to cause two things by these reports. A, it's going to make used car or new car values go down. They're going to have to drop their prices huge. It's also going to create a huge surplus of cars, so there's going to be more supply than there is demand. With this, we automatically determine which vehicle qualifies for used leasing by model age, by mileage, and the program they want, i.e. 10,000 miles, 12,000 miles, or 15,000 miles a year. It's a simple calculator. And ultimately, you're just going to well, I'll get into the sales pitch in a minute. Lease payments are lower. This is the trend of all millennials, which is why that growth is going up so high, because we've become, and especially the millennial generation, with technology and different purchases, that you're used to just getting the newest phone every 2 years.
Hey, real quickly, everybody, don't just jump off the call because he said the word sales pitch. We're not pitching you guys. This is what you're.
No. Yeah, not you guys. I don't have to sell you guys. We're giving you guys this. We're just saying, here's something else on top of everything else we've given you. And because I know that we do have a large populace of agents that do know the automotive industry and are involved in it, that this is going to be so amazing for you guys to go out and deliver. See, I'm talking about a pitch to a dealership, not to you guys. Okay, so our new and used widget, it calculates the payment, instantly updates to changes in terms. We capture all data for various lease programs to quickly complete the transaction in dealership. And this is for new car leases as well. So our widget does new and used, but nobody does used. This is what's unique. We actually have an accuracy guarantee. So it's insurance backed. We guarantee to the dealer that the accuracy of the lease payment quoted in our calculating widget, and we give all the company disclaimers. So basically we tell them, look, if it's wrong, just deliver the car. We'll take care of it and we'll make it right. Whether that means we're eating it, the payment, and the customer still gets that payment. John might know more on that on the legality. If he wants to chime in, he can. But the gist is, the widget's so good. If the widget's wrong, we'll pay the difference. New, right? With new, we use only captive data. We stack all the non-targeted incentives and use the dealer's requested selling price. That's standard, right? Used. It's based on Ally Financial's lease underwriting guidelines. And if you've ever dealt with either underwriting insurance or underwriting a loan, the underwriting guidelines are so thick and so extensive, and there are so many caveats. And well, if this, then this, and if this, then that. It's almost impossible for anyone in-house to figure out how to lease a used car because they're going to get it wrong. We got it, we're dialed in, and we're going to get it right. So what we're selling is we're doing all the heavy lifting. All they have to put in is a credit score, the terms. They want 10,000, 12,000, or 15,000 miles, and they can select what payment they want based on how much down payment they're going to give. That's all you put in that, and then done. It's done. So you convert shoppers into buyers basically with this. So we're the first to offer a used lease widget to market, period. Used widget, so it filters through all the used vehicles in a dealer's inventory, right? It scrapes the vehicles that meet the underwriting guidelines. It formulates the lease payment for each vehicle in stock. So there is a widget button on every single VDP for that individual car that meets the criteria of all the underwriting guidelines.
VDP being
the vehicle detail page. So if you are looking at a 2015 whatever in a big list of cars, and you click on that car and it brings up all the data just on that car, that's the vehicle detail page. You'll see a lease payment button. Lease me, buy me for a used car and for new cars. It eliminates the back and forth, the price for the vehicle in mind. So our technology helps the consumer, the salesman, and the sales manager save time and a headache to get the lease. And our key points, right? A, we pull vehicle information and combine it with their captive bank or your captive bank, right, to pull the right rates and residuals. We also target rebates, college, military, conquest, you name it. So we take all of those variables into the new car widget and the used car widget. We insure in case of miscalculation, like I just said, just deliver the vehicle and send us the lease. We'll indemnify the dealer for their loss. That's a huge guarantee, right, John? Finally, we supply the dealer everything they need to input this deal into their DMS or their design tool. This is a tedious calculated to do manually, which is why they won't even look at it or do it. We're doing all the heavy lifting. And this is how easy it is to sign up a dealership. We just need to know who their website hosting provider is, their DMS system or their inventory management system, the customer telephone number, i.e. Their telephone number, meaning the dealership's telephone number. That's your customer. Their XML or ADF email for leads. That goes into their CRM. Their Carfax username and password. It's part of the algorithm. Is the cars have to be checked to make sure that they're clean to qualify for the used leasing program. That's it. That's what you collect. That's what they have to provide, and then you walk away. So we also will list their vehicles, your vehicles, on our site for free when the widget's onboarded, and traffic and leads generated are free as well. So it's just another site that they get to have something up there. If people are going direct to our ThinkALease website, they'll see vehicles listed. I just want to show you quickly a competitive comparison. So here we are, we're ThinkALease. All right, there is another desktop widget lease calculator provider out there called MDesking. There's Dealer Science. There's WantaLease. And then, of course, you have Auto Trader Edmunds, OEM brands, and captive finance companies that may or may not provide some sort of a widget for the dealership to use. So VIN-specific lease price, you can see right across the board, we're covered, and all these other guys, they're not even doing it. A basic lease calculator, yeah, only 2 guys do it. These other people, it's very minimal, if at all. So basically, you would just say that Auto Trader is not really doing it, or it's very generic and it's not guaranteed to be accurate. Dealer Science, MDesking, and us, it's going to be a basic lease calculator will be accurate. Brand agnostic lease data provided. Basically, it's just us 3. Now we're starting to weed people out. Consumer-facing VIN calculation, that's only us and MDesking, period. Used and new widget calculator, that is only us. The accuracy guarantee is only us. And then with lease marketplace, that's us, and then also WantaLease. We have no competition for the used market, period. There's nobody else offering used car leasing out there and an easy way to figure out how to do it. That is ThinkALease.com. So what I was going to say was the pitch is if you walk into any dealership, and John can give an experience if he wants, but walk into any dealership and just, ask to see the finance manager and then tell them, yeah, I'm interested in leasing a used car.
There's one thing we discussed yesterday, Keith, that's very important, and you also want to do this, is you kind of want to pre-qualify the dealers you're going to walk into. And John, maybe you can chime in on this. Is this product only available for name brand dealer nameplates, or this can be done from any used car lot?
Well, again, this is going through Ally Financial, which is the biggest national used car leasing organization. So if the dealership, new or used, is signed up with Ally Financial, it will work. I don't know how many independent dealers are. I know tons of new car dealers are, because Ally used to be the captive both for General Motors and for Fiat Chrysler. So you'll find most new car franchises are signed up with Ally. They don't know that they can lease used cars through Ally. That's a whole other issue. But as long as they're signed up with Ally for financing, they can get this.
Thank you, John. But I gotta say, just ask them, yeah, I'm interested in that used car right there. What are your lease options on it? And I'll guarantee you that any finance manager or any salesman you talk to will tell you, oh, we don't lease used cars.
And there's another conditional too, I think, that's attached to this, is if the dealer, John, if they decided just to go say, hey, we just signed on with ThinkALease and we're already doing financing with you, isn't it a little bit harder for them to calculate the indemnity and the underwriting compared to what our system does?
It's pretty much impossible. I mean, I'll tell you why used car leasing is difficult, because, I mean, you think about it with a new car lease, it's very standard. There's no miles on the car. It's a standard residual. It may go up a little bit, or down a little bit by trim level, but the manufacturer kind of eases that through. With the used car leasing, there's a whole lot more variables, right? There's the miles it has on it now versus the miles it will have on it, and the data on that. I mean, really, if you looked at the Ally Financial criteria, I mean, it's a 4,000-page book. I'm not kidding you, right? Because it goes through every single variation and permutation. So typically, a dealer can't do that on the showroom floor. It just takes too long, right? They would like to offer used car leasing, but it's very cumbersome. So my guess is not only does the public not realize you can lease used cars, right, or they would do it, but most dealers don't realize they can. And the ones that do, it really is too cumbersome a mechanism. So what we're coming in and doing is basically automating all of that through an algorithm, so that both on the showroom floor and on the VDP, you've got an automatic calculated lease price there. And on the VDP page, you can change the miles as a customer. You can put more money down. You can do lots of things. Now,
Keith's going to show us that in 1 second.
I'm sorry.
Keith's going to show us that in 1 second. So go ahead.
Okay. The appeal to the dealer is twofold, right? The reason why leasing grows so much is that the customer and the dealer knows this. Usually doesn't worry about whatever the cap cost is. They just worry about the payment. So typically it's a deal with a lot more profit in it for the dealer, right? But again, it was just cumbersome. It was just kind of impossible to calculate before we came up with the algorithm to be able to offer this. So I mean, there's appeal to the dealer for a lot of reasons. It attracts people to his VDP page versus others because he's the only one putting a lease price on a used car. Two, it's a much stronger deal usually when somebody's interested. And three, there are a lot of good buys out there in leasing, right? Particularly used leasing. Now, some aren't. I mean, depending on the criteria, some of the payments might not be that great, but a lot of payments are very, very good. And, a dealer that uses our service is the only one that's going to be advertising it because the only ones that are going to be, pushing out this used car payment price. I think that was a very long-winded answer to your simple question, but anyway.
Copy that. Well, I'm going to move on to show some other stuff here then. So here's a great report. And this is going to be available to you guys. I'll show you where in a second. But the used car pileup, this talks about what I was just talking about. It's showing you all the used cars that are hitting the market, right? That are coming off lease and what's happening in the trend.
Hey, Keith,
what's going
I
on.
got to interrupt you. This is something we talked about last night. So a lot of people here on this call may not be automotive minded, and they don't know how it works. They don't know how return car works. So let's take it from the start. Let's say somebody leased a brand new vehicle and they have to turn it in today. What happens to that car? What are the disadvantages to the dealer to holding on to that car, and also the bank? What can happen?
I'd like to have John do that one because he's got a lot more experience personally doing that with his own dealerships and stuff.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I lease a car today. They project a residual, and the vehicle comes back. And typically, it isn't. I mean, the dealer gets first shot at buying it, but it usually goes to auction and on the market. And I mean, what happens is a lot of manufacturers, instead of putting a regular rebate on, will subsidize a new car lease. So between that and the payments being easier and a whole lot of other things, right, leasing tends to go up. Well, it went up dramatically right after the last downturn. So dramatically that you've got what Alex Partners, one of the main forecasters in Detroit, is saying is a ticking time bomb of used cars coming off. So in 2017, there's an extra 500,000 used leases vehicles coming off lease. In 18, there's another 500,000, which puts 1 million on. Bottom line is they're projecting that new vehicle sales will be impacted by this. They're going to come in. They came in over 17 million last year. They're going to come in under 17 million this year, somewhere around 16 million, and they project like in the 15 million range next year, specifically because of all of these vehicles. After the lease, they come back to the dealer, and then they go back on auction, and they go back into the market. And they will be inundated with these off-lease things. So what you're going to see is a natural tendency to push out these vehicles and to release them. Really is a remedy to the situation of these leases coming back, right? So over and apart from just having a widget to make it easier, the big picture is all in our favor, right, in terms of these vehicles coming back and then potentially getting released.
So when that car is returned, they decide to put it up for sale as a used car, right?
They have to.
When they do that, they have to pay monthly. Until that car is sold, they have to pay monthly insurance on the car for the bank, right?
Well, what they have is this asset that they need to get off the books because it's not getting any more valuable, if you know what I mean.
Right. But they also have costs involved, which is insurance. They also got to try to sell a car, so wherever they're selling the car, that's part of the cost. Whether they're putting on Auto Trader or Cars.com, wherever they're selling, that costs money too.
Well, and they've got a depreciation factor every month, right? Whether it sits or not.
Yeah, that's a pretty big deal. Go ahead, Keith.
I was just saying the idea that I had, and just, John's on top of his ball game, but in this Bloomberg report, they said it's 1 million more off lease vehicles in 17, not 500,000. So even more coming. It's a lot. It's going to be a big demand. So I was thinking, because there's a whole nother report, and if you guys do a lot of research on it, that a lot of people, mostly wealthy people, that's like usually leasing used to just be the luxury segment. Well, if you want to be wealthy, do what wealthy people do. And well, why do they lease? Well, they lease for a lot of reasons, but one of them is generally you can write off your lease completely as a business expense. Now, for some people, they go for 3 years. It's the end of 3 years. They have no choice but to jump into another lease. Now, most cars do not go through an extensive facelift or to the next generation within 3 years. It's usually every 5 to 7 years, sometimes longer. So if you're, say, in a BMW 5 Series and you're at your end of your lease and you're like, okay, well, I love this car. It's been great. I guess I'm going to have to go get another one, a new one. And the new one, you go and ask the salesman, okay, so what's different? Well, there's nothing different. So there's absolutely nothing different about the car in the 3 years that I've had it. I'm already comfortable with this one. I've worn the seat in, but I got to turn this one in and lease a brand new one, and it's the exact same car. Now they could have an option to be like, well, I just want to release this one as a used car. Now they're going to keep the car that they already know. It's already got everything that the new one would have, but they're going to be able to have their payments be even less than they were before. That's a pretty good resell as well. Just like, stay in your car, stay in your lease. We'll just release it to you down the road. So there's great articles here about the residual risks, about what's happening in the industry with used cars, because there's so many hitting the market. But let me show you how this works for you guys and how you can get, how you guys jump into this for yourselves to want to go out right away and play with it. It is right in, where'd my thing go? I have to go out of here. Hold on. I want to show you guys how to get there. So you go to your Beacon Snap and you sign in, right? Bring this out, make it big. Once you sign in, you'll see this programs over here, and you'll see ThinkALease there. You'll click on it. You're going to get a rep ID number. That's the ID number that gets put in when you register a business, which I'll go through in a minute. That's how you get paid. The objective of this, so basically the pricing is fixed. We've decided to fix the pricing. It's $500 a month is what a dealership is going to pay to have this service. If they lease one car, it's already paid for itself. If they lease one used car off their lot, they'll have already paid for itself. And you're going to get $100 off of that for your first 30 accounts. After 30, you get 125 off each account. Pretty set. Your objective is contact as many dealerships as possible. That could be in person, email, phone, snail mail. Most have probably never heard of used car leasing or to have a widget that does it, because like John and I was trying to explain, you have to get out an underwriting book and figure out which cars in your inventory actually qualify, and then each used car is going to qualify in a different tiered level of the use. There's so much brain damage, they just won't do it, basically. 2, present the product as clear and concise as you can. Answer questions. And the service is $500 a month. Basically, it's used car leasing. Can you do it now at the click of a button, where all you have to do is put in the credit score, the term, and the down payment to get to know what works? They're going to say, no, I'm going to have to figure out all this. And the system scrapes their DMS for the exact cars that qualify. It's all done. Enter the dealer's information. We'll go into register a business, and then you're done. You're literally done, and you walk away. And as they begin to start leasing used cars, they're not going to turn it off. And you're done. You can go back a month later, 2 months later. How's it going? Oh man, this is great. I'm thinning out the herd of all these used cars that are coming in, that are coming off lease. I'm able to get them right back out on the road a lot faster and a lot quicker. And one of those reasons being that lease, and I'll get into this in a second, but leasing is cheaper, period. That's why That's why luxury cars are always leased, because wealthy people know how to spend money properly and how to save money, and it makes more sense to lease than buy ultimately. All right. And then just follow up and upsell, come back.
That is $500 per rooftop.
Yes, per rooftop. Each one is $500. It's not for a group; it's per rooftop. So,
what credit scores are they looking for?
Well, credit scores are going to determine their rate.
John, so what is the minimum?
Well, they'll buy pretty deep. I'm not sure there is a minimum because they're taking a lot of factors into consideration. There obviously is, but I'm not sure what it is exactly because they're taking a lot of factors into consideration.
Like someone with a 600 credit score that puts down 10 grand would probably get a better chance of approval than someone.
Yeah, absolutely. That guy's definitely approved. But you're absolutely right. I mean, somebody putting money down, they can get approved a little more. They want to move these vehicles, right? Which is why they come up with the used car leasing program to start with. So, well, I'm not going to say a subprime guy's going to get bought. Somebody that has less than sterling credit, particularly as you say, if they have a good down payment, is going to get bought.
Yeah, and you'll see when Keith gets to it, there is a place where if you are going to be charging more than $500 a month, there's a spot where you tell us how much you're going to be charging them, but it can't be any less than $500.
Yeah, no less, because we're giving you guys
and
pretty much all the profit there is on that one. So
and the reason why the 500 minimum per month is per rooftop is because each rooftop has their own website.
Yeah, and they have their own inventory and their own DMS and their own lot. You know, they have their own finance manager. Each rooftop has their own finance manager.
And as John said before, or Keith said, it's for both new and used cars, correct?
Yes, the widget works both new and used.
Awesome.
For them. So it does both. So they're going to have this widget on every VDP, vehicle detail page, for their new cars and their used cars. It's going to be the same button. It's going to look the same. It's going to work the same. It's just going to give them that leasing option for those used cars.
So if a member sells it for $1,000 a month, then obviously, yeah, you're going to be making $600.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but okay. We think you should just charge the $5, but anyways, okay. So, how much can you make? Basically, we put in a little calculator here for fun, right? So you enter the number of accounts. So let's say I do 25 accounts, right? It's going to calculate. It's going to show me, okay, I'm making $2,500 a month. Well, this bonus that we give you over 30 accounts, because we want to incentivize everyone to go out and get a lot of accounts. So let's say I go to 35 accounts. It's not going to be 3,500 anymore. It's going to be 4,375 because the bonus is automatically added, that extra 25. Now, let's say you have 35 accounts, or let's say you're not
Let's go back to the programming part. This is USA only, but it can be sold from anywhere you are in the world. If you are off the North American continent, consider hiring a dealer sales rep off a help needed website. There is a ton, John will tell you, there is a ton of automotive professionals, salesmen, third-party sales to automotive that are looking for work. They would jump all over this. So you would consider paying them. I mean, you might decide half or maybe a majority, but between $25 to $50 for each dealer they sell. So that's per month, per account. Go ahead, Keith.
So the example would be you're in Canada, you're in Australia, you're in Hong Kong, wherever some of our members are, and you want to just hire someone through Craigslist or whatever it is to go out here and sell this product for you. And you tell them, look, I'm going to pay you $50 for every account you sell, and you have 35 accounts sold. This will calculate automatically what you're going to make and what they're going to make. Right? So let's say you get someone that's a hot dog and they get 100 accounts for you and you're paying them $50 an account. Well, you're making $7,500, they're making $5,000. That's a pretty good living for a lot of people, and a lot of salesmen that know the automotive industry that are out of business. They'd be like, hey, I'd go sell this all day in a dealership because nobody has it. There's zero competition for this, and no one's even heard of it.
Yeah, and keep in mind, you're going to get paid the full amount that you're owed. It's your responsibility to pay the sales rep. You don't even want to know who he is. As long as he's using your ID to get those sales into the system, then you're good to go.
Yeah, we're just going to pay you, and then you're going to take the money and pay whoever's working for you. Right, so to register a business is very simple. You'll click in, you put in the dealership name, who their web host provider is, what's the name of their DMS system.
Go ahead and fill it out.
Oh, all right. Let's put in Gaitan Motors website. Gaitan, we build websites company. DMS, I'm going to say, we'll pretend that it's like CDK, since we know that. Phone number, 123-123-1234. An email for leads. This is the email that a dealership has that sends a lead straight into their CRM, which is their customer relation management system. So I just put, Keith at keithgaitan.com for all my leads.
It'll usually be like leads@keithgaitan.com.
Right. And then we want so there's things that they have to give us, so they can't be part of the program, but we have to have their Carfax username and password, because the car has to qualify for the leasing program through a Carfax search. So we can't scrub their system, look at the Carfax, and then certify the car and then put the widget button on that car unless we have access to it. So they'll have to give us access to that for their cars. How much should we charge a client per month? Well, we're saying 500, not 5,500. And then you get your guys' PayPal email to receive commissions, and you guys know how that works, right? So there you go. And then you sign up your dealership. So I guess my email, I can just put in my email, right?
Yep. So Carfax username and password. Let's do a format I want you guys to stick to. So for the username for car, let's just do like Keith Gaitan at keithgaitan.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then do a colon. And then your password 123.
Keith 123.
So just do it in that format, or you can type in a full sentence. It doesn't matter. But that is the only login credentials we need. That's it, guys.
Yeah. You could designate it like that to make it less confusing for us, but that's all we need. And then I sign up the dealership, and I go click sign up. Says
I'll remove that. Go ahead.
Okay. So now I'm listed. Now I see my accounts, and we got an Ed Hopkins account, Davis Host. We got Gaitan Motors. So those are my businesses set up, so I can keep track of all my accounts that I've set up. Right? And this was being registered off of my. If we go back,
you got to refresh.
It's off.
Click on register another dealer.
Refresh. It already knows my number because I'm at this page and it recognized this is me. So it's already going to have that number. We're already going to know that this is that B01-1 submitted that, gets paid on that account. All right. Document Center, we put some cool things in here. Some mailers.
Click on the PDF. I'm going to finish this up after the call. And I'm going to also make 3 others that'll be ready tomorrow.
Yep. So things you guys can leave behind with your name, your number, right? We'll have a thing also where you can put your little agent number down here, because let's say they look at it and then they go to ThinkALease.com on their own. In order for them to register, they have to put in that number, that regional rep number, or they can't register. So that'll make sure that you guys get your commish if you were the one that made the contact and left the leave behind. I did that articles right here for you guys to go and look at it. We put a quick link to it for the used car pilot that I was looking at earlier to show you guys. Some product comparison. That image is here that was in the PowerPoint that I just did for you. The difference, right, between buying and leasing. Or actually, this is supposed to be. I was getting artsy with it. I'll clean it up, but this is basically supposed to be a printable piece that you can fold in half. It's supposed to be the size of a large postcard, like a hero card.
All right, let's stay on that page at the very bottom, Keith.
Yep.
Because this is where the widget comes in effect. So imagine there's a button that expands down on click on the vehicle listing page or detail page. This is what the consumer is presented with. So explain how this widget works.
So very simple is like the widget button might say lease this car for $134 a month. Well, it's showing you that the $134 is highlighted here. right? So in order to get that, you're looking at, okay, I got to be in the $10,000 or 10,000 miles a year plan. I can't be in the 12 or the 15,000 miles a year plan. And then you got to calculate the down payment to see what gets you to that 134, right? For 27 months. That's a 27-month lease at 134 with 2,000 down. That's already pre-populated. Forgive me. But let's say, okay, I want 36. Well, then you're going to see the payment gets different. It's going to be 129. It's going to be cheaper, right? Longer term. So a customer literally just goes in and goes, well, I only do 10,000 a year, and they can go click, 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 click to select what they want and calculate and done. Or they can change their down. Go to 0 down and it'll change all the numbers. Go to $1 down. It'll change all these numbers immediately for them based on the MSRP of that car. And then we, like I said, we guarantee that's the price they're going to pay, that monthly payment, period. So they get to the payment they like. Salesman goes, you like that payment? Yep. All right, done. We're delivering the car to you now. We're getting it cleaned up and we're done. So we do all of it. We're doing all the heavy lifting for them, because a dealer, look how simple that is for a finance manager when they sit with a customer to figure out their lease payment on a used car. Otherwise, he would have to get out a book, start making sure and looking at every aspect and feature and this and that and the year and the miles on the car, and then cross-reference it. It's too much brain damage. The $500 a month is well worth not dealing with the brain damage of trying to figure out a used car lease, period. So like I said, it filters through everything. It eliminates the back and forth on the price, right? It helps the consumer, the salesman, and the manager save time and headache, and that is worth money. Key points, right? And so I put some of these basic things on here. This to me was a thing that you could print out and leave behind as well, in addition to the other things that we're creating for you, and we're going to continue to do more. This is an Edmunds lease report. This is a fantastic read. If you guys want to read this and really understand what's going on, look, 4.3 million cars leased in 2016. Those are going to get ready to hit the market. So you can see that this is prime time to be able to offer this used car leasing product to anybody. And then lease versus buy, a little thing that you can look at here as a comparison.
Yeah, on these used car leases, man, the prices are so low. It's amazing that you can get into a car with very low mileage with just such a low payment.
That's why the wealthy lease their luxury cars, and that's why now there's leasing for regular cars.
If you guys remember the show King of Cars, you guys remember that?
I don't know.
One in the chat box. You guys remember the television show King of Cars, where the guy owned a car lot in Las Vegas? In like every single episode, it's the salesman getting beat up by the customer because he can't afford the $500 a month for the Dodge Challenger. They would just beat up the salesman until they got him down to like $350. The salesman is not going to get beat up over a payment like $211 on a lease.
Yeah, because most people are payment driven. So the pro and con, just for those that don't know, is if you're noticing now when you buy a car, they're offering you 6-year and even 8-year terms on buying a car now, because they know that people are payment driven on what's that monthly payment. And especially when they're thinking, okay, well, I can't, lease a used car, so I can finance, and you'll give me a 6-year, even an 8-year loan now. So in here, it shows you, why people are leasing, why the millennials are leasing, why leasing is surging and growing. It grew, in that article, it read that it grew 91% in a single year. Leasing did. And it continues to grow. It's ridiculous. So,
guys, we will get to your questions. We're not ignoring anybody. Everybody will we'll answer your questions. Just let Keith show us what he's got first, all right?
Yeah. So in the end, you'll see that this is why leasing makes sense if you have to sell someone on a lease. But at the end of after 3 years, and you still got 3 years left on the loan, you've paid almost $15,000 for that car. But at the end of 3 years, you've only paid $10,000 on the leased car, which means you've pocketed $5,000 if you've been wise enough to save the difference and think, well, I'm going to save that difference. So now you're $5,000 cash ahead on that one. Another 3 years, your residual value, the buyback. So you can see the difference there. You're looking at what, almost $8,000 or $9,000 difference between what you've paid after 6 years and how the lease buyback works if you want to buy at the end. Ultimately, at the end of 6 years, I have nothing to trade in. you have a car that could possibly bring you in 6,500 or 9 grand on trade-in, but I've already been saving 5 grand here, the difference there. I've saved more than that trade-in value if I've been wise with my money. So it is a wise financial decision to lease a car. Absolutely. And then, even after you buy it, let's say you don't trade it in, maintenance is going to start to happen because that's just the way cars are built. So with that,
Keith, what would be the total amount of the car in that example?
Total amount of the 6-year loan car? You want me to do math in my head right now?
Well, just looking at it, this looks like it's about a $25,000 car or $26,000 car.
Yeah, something like that. I forget. I pulled this off something and I forgot to look at what it was basing that car off of. But yeah, it's like a $25,000 car or something. So it's a pretty good deal. And interest rates are always really nice. And the cool thing is it's not listed here. And I leased for the first time because a year and a half ago, because I got wise to leasing versus buying. So I leased a brand new minivan for my wife. And another caveat that people that once they lease realize, you only pay taxes on that car monthly for the depreciation of that month. Versus when you buy a car, you pay the full tax rate on the full amount of that car, even though the minute you drive it off, it automatically depreciated. And so you paid taxes on a car that was 40, but really it's only worth 35 or 36 now. So you paid too much in taxes on it on the wrong value. When you do a lease, you're literally paying taxes only on what the car is actually worth that month. So you save in taxes as well. It's really, really cool. It's that's why luxuries have always been leased, because that's what wealthy have figured this out. So that being said, I'll go to our little beacon bits. Bacon, I'm hungry. And take questions, and John will chime in, and we'll try to get to this quickly for you guys.
Okay, let's get to the questions here. Barbara says not to mention the tax advantages to a lease. Correct. Let's talk about the business expenses when it comes to a business can also do a used car lease, correct?
Yeah, I guess, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
any
absolutely.
entity that qualifies can qualify. It's an entity. Whether you're a person or a business, you have a tax ID number, you can qualify.
Exactly. And then you get to write the whole thing off.
Should we have a separate business card and website to promote this for credibility?
I would just use your handouts. I mean, the website we already have the website for you, so you don't need to show another website. You just need to say, go to ThinkALease.com, and here's my agent number, because if you want it, you have to have this number in order to set up an account, or you can't set up an account. That's all you need. So the handout is your calling card. I would leave something like a postcard versus a business card, because a business card is going to disappear unless it's your digital business card. But a little, postcard handout, which I tried to create for you guys, that's two-sided, kind of has the competitive comparison on one side, has kind of those bullet points on the other side with your name and your number your on there, and leave that behind. And then they can go to the website.
Will the dealership have any different paperwork to create the lease documents?
John?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. And they're going to use the lease docs from Ally Financial, which they're given to fill out. But again, all of the actual calculation and paperwork will already be done for them. The tough part will be done. They just have to, put the.
What if the dealer is not currently signed up with Ally? Is there a process?
Yeah, they would just, like any other bank financing, right? They would apply to finance through Ally. Like I said, Ally is pretty universal in the new car franchise end, because they used to be the captive for GM and Fiat Chrysler. And even most of the Ford guys have it as well. So, you're going to see Ally pretty much represented in most new car dealerships. If they're not, they could always just sign up for them.
Can a dealer circumvent us and go to Beacon Snap directly? We don't promote this anywhere on Beacon Snap. We don't promote it anywhere right now.
Yeah.
Just
like I said, they're going to have that number to sign up. So
John went out and actually put this to work. John, so tell us your experience. So you went to a couple dealers today. What did you get?
Oh yeah, it was fun. I went to a major Ford dealer, and it turns out, right, this is kind of funny, that Ally Financial finances them, and Ally Financial was there like within the week, right? And was trying to push their used car service. So the guy said, yeah, I heard about the used car thing, but it looked too complicated for me. Right? And I said, well, let me show you something. Right? So it was a perfect intro, right? Perfect for a lot of reasons. One, they had stimulated the dealer's interest. Two, I know that Ally's out there trying to push their used car program. And three, they're not making too much headway simply because it's very complicated for a dealer to calculate. Again, a lot of this stuff is speed. And in the F&I office, in the box there, if it takes too long, it's simply not going to get done, right? So this couldn't be more timely. I mean, this was such an easy sale because Ally's out there trying to push the used car, but they don't automate the widget. They don't have anything automated. They have this big book that literally changes every 30 days, right? So you can imagine actually mastering it for this month, and then next month everything changes, right? So if there really was a need for an algorithm, this is it, right? So yeah, I mean, this is a no-brainer for a dealer. Dealers love leasing because, again, it sort of masks the profit potential, right? Because the customer is focused only on the payment, right? And in this case, in a lot of cases, the payment is so low on a used vehicle. I mean, if you compare something like a 215 loaded up Camry to a 217 loaded up Camry, the Camry's lease price is with minimal down is like $160 a month. Right? This is for a loaded up 25,000 mile, really one and a half year old car, right? So at that price, the dealer was making a fortune, and yet the customer doesn't care because the payment is so low. So this is really a no-brainer for a dealer. They'll make the $500 up in one deal, one half a deal really. And again, the used car leasing has been around on and off for a long while, but it always was a very difficult calculation process, right? If you came right down to it, it was difficult to calculate, and so dealers shied away from it. And sometimes it will not work in favor. I mean, sometimes things are just out of whack, but other times they're amazingly in whack in terms of the payment. So what you really need to do, and what I found is, in any metro area, go to 2 or 3 of the large stores, sell them on this, and then refer everybody else to their VDP page, and everybody else will have to play catch up because it'll make their VDPs on the so much more attractive because now they'll have a ridiculously low lease price on a used vehicle, which is unique, which nobody else will have.
Which is another point. If you guys notice, all car commercials, the pricing they always show is a lease price. Every commercial is, the new Lexus, blah, 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 as shown, but the price they always say is a lease price. Because if they showed the purchase price, and the purchase payment, people would be like, I'm not going to pay $1,000, but I'll pay $350.
Yeah, but exactly. And as these vehicles come off, like I said, the Camry lease price usually the lease price on this mainstream vehicle always for a 2-year or 3-year gets into the $300 or $400 payment range. If you can get into the $150 to $200 to $250 payment range, it becomes a real selling tool, for the dealer.
How does the dealer make money on this program?
Real simple. Their markup is already baked in, right? So they'll have their margin, and we'll just convert it into a lease for them, right, on a used vehicle, right? So more often than not, they'll have a full list margin, right, to start with, and the customer can, play around with the widget in terms of money down or length of time or miles, and get to their payment, and not so much negotiate on the underlying price.
And when it comes to the banks that are financing it, it's usually they'll either bump the rate or they just earn their commission from the interest on every payment.
Yeah, they've already factored that in. See, there's a money factor and then there's a residual factor. And between those two, the Ally's already making their money in it.
Does Ally charge anything to the dealer to use them for used car lease?
There's a standard lease price, but the dealer passes that on anyway, right? And it's one of those things that's a pass-through, origination fee.
Is there any used car, like mom and pop used car shops that are out there that are using Ally for financing right now?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, Ally, like I said, is one of the biggest technically non-captive captives out there, because they were the captive for both GM and FCA at one point, especially during the downturn. So they're out there probably. They're definitely more widespread than any OEM captive right now because of their history, but I don't know how far into independence they get.
How long does it take to get the widget on their website? Who puts it there?
Not long. It's just, if you're familiar with the text chat widget, right? The script is there to put it on, right? Again, I'd love to tell you that every one of these websites is very easy and cooperative. That isn't quite the case, right?
But then again,
but it's pretty much the same process.
They're not going to be doing it in this instance. We're going to be doing it on our side.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing all that work. You guys are just walking away and saying, all right, enjoy leasing your cars.
Okay, we're getting inundated with questions here. Can this work at a Mercedes-Benz, BMW type dealerships?
Absolutely.
Anywhere,
Absolutely.
any dealership.
Hey, let me tell you this story because it's pretty amazing. All right. I mean, every once in a while, there will be a vehicle that is way out of whack, low price on a used vehicle lease. I tell this story because I wish I had snapped on this one. There's a $500,000 Porsche out there, right, that somebody has now, literally a payment of $700 a month with $4,000 down, right? $500,000. It was coming off lease, right? And literally the way they had priced the residual, and the way they had put incentives on it was just, the calculator calculated it and it was out there and somebody snapped on it. But imagine just putting $4,000 down and $700 a month for a 2-year lease on a $500,000 Porsche. So yeah, it works very well on high-end vehicles.
How does the dealer pay ThinkALease?
One shot, right? Credit card per month. All right. Take it in advance, cancel it anytime.
Yeah, we're gonna make them sign up, credit card to sign up. It's kind of how we work with our lot links plan, another thing. But we want to keep it simple because if you do invoicing, and if you've ever dealt with a dealership, you go 60, 90 days out, you're still waiting, and then you guys are going, hey, where's my commission? Well, we're still waiting for the dealership to pay us. This way, it's automatically the money comes in at the first, and then you guys are hit with your money right away as well through your PayPal. So done. That's what keeps it simple. Most dealerships are getting accustomed to vendors requiring credit card to keep things digital, simple, and easy. So that shouldn't be a hard sell.
Sorry, guys.
It's kind of cool. You mentioned lot links, and this is a great sell with lot links. Remember, lot links drives traffic directly to the VDP. If that VDP on a used car, and dealer can pick new used cars, right, over 30-day used cars, over 60-day used cars, right? If that VDP happens to have a lease price on it that's attractive, all of a sudden that dealership's VDP page is way more in demand and has way more appeal than somebody else's. So the two work hand in hand. And I've got to mention this: it works well with text chat too, because if you're driving traffic from the outside, specifically on 60-day-old units, you have a widget that calculates the lease price, and you have a text button where somebody can communicate and say, hey, I'm really interested in this lease. What do I need? It all works together really well. And that's the trend today with dealerships. If you went back maybe 5 years, definitely 10 years, it was always third-party lead generation, right? I used AutoVital. Now it's more, and this is driven by manufacturers and the big guys. Now it's more, look, I want to drive traffic to my own VDP page. And what you're seeing is the lot links layered in and a lot of these driving traffic, because it just pays a dealer more to drive that traffic directly into their listing page than it does to pay a third party.
Do you know if Ally does motorcycles also?
It's a good question. I don't have a clue, but I'll check that for you. I don't deal much with motorcycles.
I've never even heard of a lease for a motorcycle, but I guess maybe they're out there, right?
Yeah, it's an asset. It's an asset, so it's probably possible.
Where do we find salespeople, John, to if they're out of the country and they want to have somebody in the U.S. out there selling it door to door to these dealerships? What is the best place to get that kind of talent?
Well, I can circulate this around. There's a group of agents. Usually they sell F&I products, and this would be perfect as a dovetail to F&I products. some
What
finance and
F and I, John? You got to be layman here.
I'm sorry, finance and insurance, right? So there are some really big organizations that have their own salespeople, right? Like Allstate for finance and insurance. But most of them actually go to independent sellers that will have a relationship with the dealer, right? And they'll recommend the finance and insurance products, the gap insurance and everything, depending on the dealer. Those guys, I think, if you're out of the country, would be perfect to carry something like this because they're already selling to a packet of dealers.
Awesome. Distributing commissions for our salespeople is done by system or by us. Oh, that's done by you guys. Is their income recurring? If the income is always recurring to you, it's up to you if you want the recurring to them. I think to be fair, I mean, Keith would say to be fair, you got to pay them a monthly recurring as well if you have an employee. Keith, do you agree?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you were speaking for it. I was like, absolutely. I mean, if you hire a guy and say, yeah, you get $50 a deal residual every month coming in, passive income once you close all these deals.
Okay, what would happen?
That's going to keep them incentive to go out and get customers for you. If you're gun shy about selling, I was having this, and for some of you that have started to watch my interview series that I've got up now, where Randy Dickinson, who's been really fantastic at helping me to put that together for you guys. I'm sorry, it was a different guy I was talking to out of Texas, who's one of our members. And he was telling me, he's like, I'm a fantastic salesman, but I don't understand technology at all. So he's like, I'm going to hire someone to do the technology part of all of this stuff for me, and I'm just going to let them handle and manage accounts while I go out and knock doors and knock down accounts left and right. So you find where you're strong and recognize where you're weak and hire someone that's strong where you're weak, and together you can build a huge empire together. So those of you that are afraid to go knock a door, are afraid to go sell, like we have some really amazing technological, gurus in the group, because I know like a lot of guys get a no HTML code. They know all this stuff that I don't know, but they might not be the ones that are comfortable going out and pitching and talking to people and selling to people. This is how you could do it. You just hire someone to be the salesman for you, to go out and be the mouth. Find that guy who wears, Ron Burgundy, polyester suit, whatever, the salesman, to go out and give him a piece of the commission, because something, it's better to have something than nothing. And if you're the salesman, but you don't get the tech part, and when people start asking all the technical questions about how the product and the services work, and you're not totally clear on it, hire someone to do that for you and to be that technical support for going out and building your business.
Well, yeah, and I have to add too that, right, however you lead in, this is a great product to lead in because it's kind of like a no-brainer, but we have so many products that sell to dealers. If they just open that door, right, there's a lot of things, like I just mentioned, lot links and text chat go hand in hand on that VDP page. But then when you throw in, the features in Beacon Snap, there's a whole other group of products you can sell. So if you get somebody to open that door, it's a pretty wide door. We've got a lot of unique products out there that fit perfectly with dealerships. And I think everyone that I've closed started with one. Nobody started with the entire portfolio. Everybody started with one or two products, and then I introduced another one, and it builds from there.
And for those of you that are like, what is lot links? It's another thing that we can give you guys access to. So if you're interested, send an email over to Ed, and we'll give you guys info on that if you're interested in learning more about it. Next question, Ed.
Sorry, I muted myself. In case the dealer asks me for a website for more info, is there going to be a website with my ID to show them? Yes, we're taking care of that tomorrow. So you'll be able to send them to ThinkALease.com, and your ID will automatically be attached to it. Blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. So you don't need any logins to the web host, just the name. The only logins we need are for Carfax. That's it. We do the rest. As always, what marketing materials do we get for this to be as clear, as concise as possible? We'll have that already in the back office for you by tomorrow night. Is it possible to get a sub ID for each rep? Yep, I'll work on that too, Mike. So that way, if you want to give them the URL to the ThinkALease back office, or maybe you can't do that. We'll just give you a place where you can assign an ID, and I'll be very clear on how you guys can do that. For remote sellers, do you recommend hiring people who will meet people in person or via phone? Always in person. Do you agree, Keith and John?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I was like,
Absolutely.
if you're afraid to talk to people, then hire someone and give them a piece of your commission to be the boy, to be the guy, and go as a team. You know, nothing like going like a dynamic duo out there, and one talks, one the text, so the guy goes, well, does it do this code thing? Blah blah blah. And you be the one to answer that, and the other guy's the one that gives them all the hoop the pump, I guess. Like Ed and I would be a good team. Like Ed and I could go out, and I'll break down the door. I don't take no for an answer, and I'm like, yeah, hey, I got this, and I know you don't have it. You got da. Well, can it do a job? I'll be like, Ed, I don't know.
Keith, you mentioned CPO and other used vehicles. What does that mean?
So a CPO is a certified pre-owned, and that is really big in the business now. So and that was created by all these leases coming in, really, because Ford is getting back all these leases. Chevy is getting back all these leases. Cadillac, Mercedes, BMW. They take them through, and they go through this whatever multi-point inspection and this and that, and then they recertify that car, manufacturer certified that this car is like new. It's used, but it is as good as new with a warranty. This is a CPO, certified pre-owned. We have certified this car to it's still worthy of having our Mercedes name on it. A used car is just a random used car where, you get what you buy. So buyer beware. You have no idea what's up with that car. Really, it hasn't really been inspected, and it's not being warranted or guaranteed or certified.
But our program works for both.
Oh yeah. You can lease on anything. It's whatever. Yeah, we'll lease anything.
Yeah,
we're not worried about that.
During the underwriting, when they do the Carfax, they're going to check if the car has been in a flood, if it's totaled, if the title's free and clear. All that stuff is very important when calculating the price of the car.
Yeah, it has to be clean. And I think and John, we're gonna be able to get an Allied Bank agent, I believe, guru on this whole Allied Bank leasing program to join us on a webinar to really answer all of these leasing questions and all kind of the inner workings. This is our main guy who.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, this guy is a leasing. There's nothing he doesn't know about leasing. Let me tell you, he's been doing it for a very, very long time. And questions like, can you lease a motorcycle or can you lease a boat? He'll answer in 30 seconds, and he'll give you the history of leasing right from day one on the automotive end of it.
It'd be cool if you could actually lease an RV.
Yeah,
I think this guy can lease a horse. I mean, he's a leasing guru. He's known, throughout the country as a leasing guru, which is important. And the thing about the certified pre-owned, right? They give a customer much more peace of mind because it's certified from the manufacturer, but it's more expensive. It's like $1,000 more expensive, right? Which can get hidden in a lease, right? I mean, do 24 months and that $1,000 doesn't show up quite as hard. So it's kind of a good combination of a CPO unit with a lease price.
Right. And Zach will be our guest speaker on Tuesday's webinar to get into all these deets on the leasing. Correct?
Yep. So if you want to ask about if you can lease a radio flyer wagon, you can ask him on the call.
Yeah. So
he'll give you the history of there was a time when you leased XYZ and there was such a market gap and this came out and they did this, and it's pretty fascinating when you listen to him talk.
So just so you guys know, next Tuesday's webinar is going to be about this again, and we're going to have a guest speaker who is the foremost authority on leasing, period.
Joe has a very unique question, John. This might be up your alley. How are the 2 hurricanes going to affect the used car situation?
Well, that's interesting. There's a lot of scuttlebutt now. They figure 1 million cars have been not a million, but a whole bunch of cars have been totaled, right? Some ridiculous number. And so it's going to create a limited kind of demand, right, for new cars in the area, and insurance things,
Well,
right? But the other end of it is, right, whenever you have a disaster like this, these flood units somehow, even though they're supposed to be titled and killed, somehow they seem to get back in the market, right? So it's definitely going to affect things for a limited amount of time, right? But I can't tell you exactly how.
well, first,
And the other side of that is a lot of people don't have flood insurance on their cars. And so a lot of people are going to be SOL and going, I can't afford a new car. Whoa, I can lease a used car. I can afford that. Oh, done. This could be huge right now out there.
it's going to go in stages. Well, first, they're going to have to rebuild the businesses so people can go back to work because people have already lost everything. Once they go back to work, they're not going to be able to build that much of a savings for anything. So having this used car leasing where they can get a lower payment that's usually sometimes between 40 and 50% less than buying a car, it's going to help that market immensely.
So I just want to share something, and maybe I'm not supposed to, so I can get reprimanded by John later. But this program, for those of you that don't understand how amazing this is, we had somebody already ask us and want to pay us, I think it was $15,000 a month, to have exclusivity of the entire state of Arizona and Nevada, or both states, those two states, and we're willing to pay us $15,000 a month to have total exclusivity to go to this product, and they were going to go to every single dealership over the next several months to get all those accounts for themselves. Well, we said no, but there are people out there that see that every dealership's going to say yes, and if you could corner the market in the entire state or two states, you'd be bringing in millions of dollars a month by how many dealerships are out there that will sign up on this.
Dan says, I'm guessing all this has put the other apps behind schedule. No, I created this website in under an hour, and to create the documents is probably another few hours, so this has taken no time for the developer that I have underneath me.
This was on John's side. John got this together, and got this guru who figured out how to create this widget, this algorithm, the leasing expert to figure out the leasing widget.
What is the minimum year or mileage for a car to be qualified?
I believe it's 2014, 75,000 miles.
Gotcha.
Or that's the maximum, whatever. That's the oldest and the maximum, most miles, and then it just gets smaller miles as it gets closer. Like basically, if it's a car turned in last year or this year, it's a 30,000 mile limit.
There's a couple questions people here saying no Beacon Snap questions today. I want to keep this dedicated to this one product today. We're going to get back to Beacon Snap on the next call on Tuesday, but there are several replays, and there's also our support desk. So if you guys have a question or something's not working for you, hit us up. We respond to you pretty dang quickly.
And I might be willing to do a supplemental Beacon Snap only webinar on Thursday or Friday. Well, Friday maybe, and I'll post it in the Facebook group where I'll just get on and just do Q&As for you guys.
Is everybody cool with that? Put in a 1 in the chat box. All right. You guys better have some questions. If you guys are putting in 1s like crazy, you guys better have some questions, because Keith is not going to have anything to show you guys that we haven't already showed you. So have your questions ready. That's all I got to say. Now I got to go back to where I was. Can motorcycle dealers do this? Lots of used bikes like on the market, like
Stay tuned. We'll find out on Tuesday about bikes.
Is there a certain sales script or technique that'll work to sell ThinkALease?
I just think if you went into a dealership and asked, hey, I really like that used car, what are your leasing options on it? And they say, well, we don't have any. You'd be like, oh, well, would you like one?
Yeah, I might have already said this about the pre-qualification. I told this to Keith yesterday. Instead of just dry walking into a dealership, you should go to their website, find a car that's a used car that's really nice, call them up, call up a salesman and say, hey, I really like this 2016 MKS with 20,000 miles. The price is kind of high at $450 a month. You guys do used car leasing? And if he says yes or no, if he says no, there's your lead right there. You just pre-qualified that dealer right there.
And even if they say yes, be like, really? who do I speak to about that right now? And get F&I guy, and then have the F&I guy be like, well, it's a tedious process, blah, 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 blah. We're not sure what the exact price will be in the payment. And be like, well, I could have that done for you in about 2 seconds. So there's still always a sale there.
Is there a price point for us to get involved in this? Well, it costs you nothing to take part in this. It's already open to you guys if you're a member of Beacon Snap or Dealership Easy Money Machine. So I'm not sure.
I think that's what they were asking. Yeah, there's no additional, like everything new that we give you guys, we're not going to say, okay, your dues just went up, or your fees, or whatever you want to call the monthly agency fee. That doesn't ever change. And we're just going to keep giving you more stuff and more stuff and more stuff.
Yeah, guys, remember, I've said this 1,000 times. We're not the other guys. We don't charge you for intensives, new products. If we feel it brings value to what you guys can offer your clients, we just give it to you guys. On your calculator example, it appears that the prospect can calculate their monthly rate without the finance guide. And do we provide the code to add to their website?
Yes and yes.
And
the only thing that'll change that payment is once they actually put in their credit score. If they have a crappy credit score, obviously that's going to change what, that little widget is giving you best case, you're an average, you're a good credit, not average, but you're a good credit. Providing your good credit, here's what you're going to get. But then the guy goes in and you're like, oh, bankruptcy and foreclosure, and your credit score is not even listed, it's so low. Okay, that's going to change the factors.
And I just want to clarify that when he said that, yeah, you do that, you guys don't do the installation of the button. You guys don't do the coding. You guys don't do any of that. So I want to be clear. It's straight up, you register the business, you walk away, you get paid.
Yeah, that registration I just did as a demo where I registered Gaitan Motors. That's all you guys do. When the guy says, yes, I could use that, you do that registration and you walk away. You're done. Now, you want to go back, of course, and say, how's that working? Oh, we're leasing cars left and right, all these used cars. We're getting rid of all these turned-in leases right away. This is great. Cool. Can I introduce you to the physical web? Oh, what's that? I like the last product you gave me. What else you got for me? Oh, I got lot links. Oh, I got mobile wallet. I got geofencing. I got, you just start bringing it in.
Some of them are using Ally. I worked for a B-Lot that uses Ally before. So, yeah, I guess they do use Ally Financial, use car lots at B-Lots.
And what we're selling, just to be clear, this widget, we're doing all the underwriting for them on the car. They don't have to underwrite it in-house to see if that borrower is going to qualify for that car, if the car qualifies for the Ally program. This widget's doing all the underwriting.
Keith, realistically, how long would it take a finance manager, especially like a heavy dealership that's doing a ton of volume, how much time would it take to just do this on your own, to manually underwrite it?
I think he would have to spend at least a half hour to an hour to make sure that everything matched up between the borrower and the car.
And then
I can say they wouldn't do it. They just wouldn't do it, right?
Yeah,
and time-wise, it would just take too long.
Yeah, it won't make sense because the guy's like, I'm not going to get my pencil and my calculator out, and I'm not going to read through all the legalese and the fine print on the Allied leasing program and make sure that we're covered, because once we deliver that car, if that payment's not what I calculated and I have human error involved here, then I'm going to lose my job at the dealership because we can't deliver it at that payment. That's why we're doing all the brain damage, period. And it's literally as fast as you can click that button, it's calculated the payment. It already knows all of the underwriting guidelines with Allied Bank. That car's already been approved for the Allied Bank leasing program because we scraped it off of their DMS system as a qualified car. Otherwise, it would not have the lease button next to it. All they have to put in now to close the deal, to make sure that the payment is what it is the customer's credit score, what they want to put in for the down. Well, they've already done that for their payment, but down and the term, 10,000 a year, 5,000, 15,000 a year, miles, whatever, and it's done. And then they click done, sold, and then Ally just emails the docs. They sign the docs, done. See you later. Enjoy that used car. We'll see you in a couple years to trade it in on another used car.
So in summation, you could say that the feeling that the finance manager would get doing this by himself would kind of be like you guys out there in the United States. If you guys get to that tax day where you got to file your taxes, that's probably what it feels like to them to do it manually.
Yeah, yeah,
Which I
exactly.
gotta tell you is why most consumers, that's why most dealers, don't know most people that work inside dealerships don't know you can lease used cars. And the majority of consumers have never heard of it before, right? So that's kind of neat because it makes it unique. It's not unique in the sense that Ally will lease used cars. It's just the process itself is so cumbersome that nobody knows about it. So that's a cool selling point.
I like the way Bob makes his questions stand out. What the hell is a captive?
Bank.
So captive is
Financial
like
institution.
you have Ford credit, right? You have GM, now you have GM credit. But before there was GM credit, when GM went bankrupt, Ally Financial came in as the potential captive. A captive is a bank, but it's owned by a manufacturer. But when everything went through its downturn, right, when both GM and Fiat Chrysler went essentially bankrupt in 2009, they had no captives anymore because they weren't a bank anymore because they were broke, right? So Ally Financial as a bank came in and was their captive, which is why Ally has such a big piece of the market now.
And you guys remember Ally Bank? That's the bank that has no four walls. You can sign up. They used to have the guy with the little kids to sign up for Ally Bank and everything. It's an online bank only.
Can you give us
no brick and mortar?
Can you give us a step-by-step when you walk into a dealer? What do you say to them? Who do you talk to? What do you hand them to get the sale?
It depends on your skill set. I mean, you can go to a salesman and say, yeah, I'm looking at this car. I love this used car. Yeah, I want to lease this car. Right? And go through that whole process to show them. You can go through and show them what they're missing and then have them be, man, well, I'd really love to get your business. Well, if you can't lease me this car, then you can't have my business. And then they realize, wow, if I could have only leased this car, I could have had a customer, and show them that and then say, well, actually, I can help you lease this car to me. You can do that, or you can just be straightforward and go into a dealership. Yeah, can I speak with your finance manager, please? Your F&I manager? I like to talk to them. And then go in and just, yeah, do you have a used car leasing program? And if so, is it zero, brain damage and super easy for you to calculate a lease payment on a used car for a customer within 2 seconds?
Or I can tell you can cut through it and say, look, do you finance vehicles through Ally Financial, right? Which is what I did with this big Ford dealer. And they said, yes. And I said, well, do you realize you can lease used cars as well? And the guy just happened to say, yeah, because the Ally guy was here like 2 days ago pushing it. And I said, well, do you do that on the showroom floor? And they said, well, no, we don't have the time to figure that out. I said, well, let me talk to you about a product we have, right? So it can be as easy as saying, look, do you finance through Ally? Do you have vehicles through Ally? And with a new car franchise, probably 80% of the time, 8 out of 10 times, they're going to say yes. And then the next question is, well, do you realize that you can put used car lease prices on, which in a lot of cases are a lot cheaper than new? And most will say, no, I didn't realize that. And the ones that say yes will say, well, yeah, but I don't fool with any of that. I don't even understand it. Right? So let me show you this, right? And then you show them some screenshots or you talk about it, and then it becomes a kind of, gee, this would make me unique in the area right now, because go to their top 8 competitors and you won't see a widget that does used car leasing, and all of a sudden they can be the first in their market. And you want to say you'll be the first in the market because you want to get that second guy, because you want to lead him right into the first guy's website to say, look, this guy's advertising used car leasing. How come you're not doing that?
Right. He's got his used leases on his Facebook and his Instagram and his Twitter. He's advertising used car leasing.
Okay, I want to make this very clear too, because I don't know if it's been mentioned or not. As far as customer service related to the ThinkALease program, that's going to be handled by Zach if the dealer has any questions. But you should, as a salesman who sold the program, should definitely follow up at least once a month, say, how is everything going, blah, blah, blah. If everything's going great, that's kind of like your feelers there that tell you they might be ready for an upsell. So this could almost be a conduit or a lead in to more product, because they're going to love
definitely
this. They're going to love this.
Let me jump in here too. So we're one of the few approved resellers of lot links out there. Lot links is kind of state of the art in that they drive traffic directly to a dealer's VDP page and specific VINs if they want to. So that a dealer can roll in and say, look, I just want to drive traffic to over 45-day-old used units, and I want to do it for 15 days, and I want to do it within a geographic area of X. Okay, one of their requirements, so consequently one of our requirements, but it's just good business, is you got to touch that dealer. Even if he's a lifelong customer, you got to touch that dealer once a month, right? Preferably face-to-face, but definitely by phone call. Why? Because you want to make sure everything is running right. You want to make sure all the questions are answered. And as Ed says, in our case, you want to introduce them to 2 or 3 other products that we have that are unique. So you do definitely want to recontact. Even if it's going like clockwork, you want to recontact because it keeps that relationship fresh. And of course, you always have an opportunity. If there's any sort of issue, you can solve it. And if there isn't, you got a perfect entree to sell them another product.
Here's the kicker to this. And if you are one of those guys that are selling this for over $500 a month, even though we recommend that you don't, if you do, why not give them a beacon that broadcasts, hey, we do used car leasing when somebody comes on the lot?
Yeah, exactly.
Add some value to that $600 or $700 or $800 you're charging them every month.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Can you explain the process after they sign up? As I have a 5 rooftop dealership that I can go to tomorrow if I have a good understanding of the process. So if you want to do like a step-by-step, Keith, like you're going to call the dealer and you're going to talk to a sales and say, hey, you guys lease this car. No, that gives you your cue right there that you can approach this dealer one-on-one. Keith,
Right.
Go ahead and tell me the process from there on.
You're just going to go and sign them up.
No. The sales process. So you're going to sign them up. You're going to show them the product. You're going to sign them up. What happens after that? What can the dealer expect?
What they can expect is Zach, for the time being, I believe Zach, maybe he has an underling. John would know better as well because John's had the one-on-ones with Zach. And I haven't been able to go out and do this yet because I've been pretty much stuck to the desk since May, which is okay. But we'll then contact them probably the next day just to make sure that they have everything they need to put the items on the widget on their desktop and have the access to scrub their DMS system. That's all they need. That's it.
Gotcha. Any amount over $500 rooftop will also be our profit, right? No, any amount over $400 is your profit because you're getting paid $100 back. Remember?
Yeah.
What is the upper limit or range you would charge a dealer if they're willing to pay it, or what the market will bear? I think the max. I think the max is $1,000. $1,000. You better be shining his shoes too every month.
$1,000, and if they catch wind of, because dealers they do talk. There's dealer council. In case you aren't aware of this, but dealers are chosen to be part of a council, and then they go and they meet up at headquarters in Detroit or wherever they're going to be, and they get together and they talk shop. And if you get a couple of dealer principals together, and one is using our product and paying $500 a month, and another's using it and paying $1,000 a month, and they're like, well, what? That guy's going to be pretty pissed off. And it happens. As big of a business it is, it's very, very intimate. When you go to NADA or any of these automotive conferences, I mean, everybody knows everybody and everybody talks. I'm shocked. When I walk there and I'm with John, every 2 feet, we're getting stopped because everyone's talking to, hey, John, hey, John, hey, John. Everybody knows John. It's crazy. And John knows everybody, and they all know each other. So I'm just saying, I would be careful because dealers talk. They do. As much as they're competitive, and John, you can chime in on this and tell me I'm wrong, but they do talk and they do share.
That's 100% right. You've got 20 groups, you've got dealer associations, and there really isn't any used car leasing widget out there. There's no reason to be greedy. You'll get everybody in the neighborhood. I just be careful too high on the upper side, because I mean, not that they wouldn't necessarily pay it because they do a deal a month, it's paid for. But you don't want to get too greedy out there. We want everybody to be happy. Plus, if they're happy and they're paying, we've got a whole bunch of other products you can make margin on too, right?
Yeah, because if you're trying to make everything off this one product with them, then the chances of going in and selling them something else, they're going to be like, well, all my budget's being eaten up with your lease program. I don't have any more budget for digital, right? So you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot. I just be happy, and also when something is too high of a price, every month, the accountant, who doesn't care about anything because they're the bean counter, is going to raise a red flag and ask, do we still need this service? Is it really working for us? Why are we paying this much for this service? Blah, 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 blah. And then they're going to be like, well, how many cars did we? And then it's going to raise too many eyebrows, and then it can cause, and then you got to go in and keep them happy and keep reselling them. But if it's a decent price and they go, is this worth $500 a month to the GM? The GM goes, yep, keep it. Okay, done. That's how fast it happens.
Who is offering the guarantee?
We are.
So
if our calculator's wrong on that payment, we're guaranteeing it's not wrong, because our calculations are so dialed in to the Ally Bank underwriting guidelines that if for some reason that payment is altered because we messed up on the widget in understanding the underwriting guidelines with Ally Bank, that's on us. Just deliver the car is what we tell the bank. That's the guarantee.
And if you guys want information on lot links, it's not in the DEM. I don't think it might be. But if you guys want information on that, please put in a support ticket. Is the new car and used car for each dealership considered a different roof, or is it based solely on the DMS?
No, it's the DMS. It's a rooftop, because a Ford dealership's going to have new and used on their same lot.
Who should I speak to? Who is the gatekeeper at the dealership to talk about this program?
I would think the F&I manager.
And that kind of brings me to this question. Where do we go for all the acronyms that a dealership uses so people can understand the layman terms of everything that John and you speak about? There's got to be a place online of automotive acronyms.
I'm sure if you Google searched automotive acronyms and terminology, you'd find something.
No, after you submit the business information, they're not asked to pay after that by our system. Zach will then ask the dealership for their credit card information so they can put them on the monthly so they can get paid and you can get paid. So lease is through Ally. Yes, it is.
The used car leasing, but the widget also taps into whoever their captive is right now. So the widget is an all-in-one widget. The same widget will go on their new cars as well for new car leasing. So if they are paying for a separate new leasing widget from some other company, like some of those competitors I showed you, they can eliminate it and have 2 for 1 with one widget.
If we sell for more than $500 a month, do we get paid the difference in addition to the 100? Yes, you do. Do all new car dealers lease? Yes, 99% of them. Can we get the list of car terms? Yeah, I talked about that. That's the acronyms he was referring to. There should be a place online where you get all the used car, new car acronyms. I was told by one of my used car dealers that the CarMax is buying everything up at the auction and shipping them south.
I believe it.
That's probably in regards to the hurricane, I think. 45 minutes taking 3 hours now in Houston right now, so business is not back to normal at all. The business commute is taking 3 hours. I get it. Will this reply be available? Yes, it will. If we get increased commission after 30 on a month, does that mean that if no one cancels after that, the first month I reach 30, I will get the increased commission for those 30 plus? Yes, you have to maintain 30 or more accounts at all times to get the commissions. If you fall to 29, you lose $25, so that's kind of like incentive for you to keep that 30. How long will it take from the completing of the sign-up form to when the dealership gets the widget? It varies. There's going to be communication back and forth with Zach and the dealership, so I presume it's not very long, probably less than a week, maybe 2 weeks. And if the dealer's not signed up with Ally, maybe add another week. Kevin says, John, are you going to call Michael and I tonight, please? Thank you.
I guess it's already answered.
So I guess that's related to Digital Dealer.
Yeah.
Any...
Hi, Kevin, by the way.
Oh, I just lost my question box. How do I get into Facebook? Just request from the dashboard in your BeaconSnap back office. There's a link to, and just hit the join button, and then it'll ask you for your username, and then we will let you in. Tell us again, with some competition with used car leasing, what is the big thing that sets us apart?
There are no competitors.
Well, you showed us that. You showed us that thing with a bunch of people comparison or a bunch of stuff.
Oh, this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what?
Well, no one has the used widget or the guarantee that we give. Those are the two things that are exclusive to us.
Gotcha. Consumer-facing video, yeah, all that stuff is, yeah. What is ThinkALease, Dealer Science, and M-Desking?
John, by the way, John has done extensive research because he's got another article coming out in an automotive magazine because he's always being printed. So why don't you talk about that, John?
Sure. Yeah, I was very explicit in this because I wanted to do, I mean, when I do an article, it can't really be a sales pitch. It's got to be an informational piece. So each of these various products are really leasing widgets that have various usability, right? That'll use VIN-specific lease price, basic lease calculator, right? Everything on that chart. What I found is that while various companies do various things, it's always with new vehicles. Nobody ever ventures into used vehicles, right? So, I mean, the article is basically going to outline kind of the overhang of used cars and then whether used car leasing's time has come. And I go through various points in the last 30 years. There has been used car leasing, but it's never really caught on the showroom floor. And my reasoning, and I do believe this is correct, is because it's difficult to do, right? You give something a dealer that's difficult for a dealer, they just don't do it, right? It could be the most lucrative thing in the world, but if it requires a lot of time, everybody realizes that closing time is critical, and so they just don't do it. And so what the outline of the article is, hey, I think it actually works now because now you've got a used car calculator widget that does all the heavy lifting for you. But in the process of researching this article, I looked through everything that was out there, right? And this grid that Keith did such a good job with is basically what I found, is that, hey, yeah, there are various new car widgets out there. There's even some OEM captives that'll do some used vehicles, but it'll be very limited, and there's nothing to make it easy or simple out there. So it's hard to believe, but there really isn't anything. And I think it's a combination of banks not really eager to go into the used car leasing market, but now they are because they see this overhang. And by the way, this overhang of used cars, I think Keith might have mentioned it, at least Alex Partners estimated that banks will lose $5 billion on this before it's all done. $5 billion with a B. So anything that they can do to offset some of those losses, like used car leasing, they're going to do. So I think the supply is the issue. When an institution like Ally starts leasing used cars, you've got something, but then it has to be very, very easy on the showroom floor, which it is. And I think actually this sparks a new dawning for used vehicle leasing out there. So in the course of doing research in this article, I had to verify that there wasn't anything else out there kind of like this, and there isn't, right? I mean, that's how this grid came about.
Yeah, we're just
Hey, John, just before I forget, could you post possibly, and we could do this in the back office, digital versions of all of your articles that you've written over the few years?
Sure.
I mean, they're really, really good stuff, and a lot of it is about a lot of the technology that you guys have to go sell and how it's working in dealerships and dealership testimonials.
Yeah, I mean, I do it on a survey of products. I can't stress our products every single time, so I do it on a lot of different topics, and fortunately, it's gotten a lot of good play. Um, but every once in a while, right, like with used car leasing, it dovetails perfectly because this is good news. I mean, dealers don't realize they can do this, right? And if they did, they would be doing it now. So this next one coming out really syncs perfectly with what we're doing here.
Des says, damn, you guys just keep adding value. Garrick says, you guys are awesome. Bronson says, you guys are so generous. Thank you. Vicky says, thank you for not upgrading us constantly like the rest of the gurus that are out there. You guys are great to work with. Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate it. Appreciate all the great comments. Trey says, is there a disclaimer that the payment amount could change based on your credit score?
Well, yeah. Remember,
yeah, there's fine print in that. Go ahead, John. I'll find it.
I was going to say, remember, this is a calculator widget, right? So nothing is guaranteed, right? And if that customer is in a different credit tier, it says that, and then when they come into the dealership, it's okay. Well, that was for credit tier A. This is credit tier B. I'm going to need a little bit more down, or this is what I need to do the deal. So, I mean, it's just like any other calculator for a payment. When you see a payment on a car that isn't a lease, right, it always comes with these asterisks. Same thing.
So here's this is an image of our widget. It says right here, all prices are based on credit approval. Okay, so there's your fine print on credit approval.
Rick says, in Australia, not many dealers show lease or finance payments on any vehicles. Any ideas how we can get around this problem? I'm thinking it's either of two things. Number one, it could be a governmental regulation issue. Or number two, they want to be able to qualify the customer, then bump the rate to make money on the back end when they get that car financed. I've been bumped very high on some used cars when I had bad credit. I've been bumped like several points. And the kickbacks are pretty big. It's usually 1% for each point that they bump it. It's 1% back to the dealer in cash from the bank. Is that right, John?
Yeah. In fact, there's been some legal regulation on that, on how bad they can hit you with a bump back too. So they've gotten in some trouble on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, we're going to be working on our website where all of your leased cars from all of your dealerships will be on, and then they'll be able to see exactly what they will have on their site, sort of, when it comes to the widget. Can we ask Ally about this program?
Well, yeah, I mean, they obviously know about the algorithm and everything, and they're pleased with it. Ally's role here is they lease used cars, and they produce a physical book, right, that every month, right, has these calculations in it based on residual and money factor and everything. But that's as far as they go. They don't produce this algorithm that actually automates it. So they love the idea that the algorithm's out there. They just don't, that's not their thing. Their thing is producing the book and getting the cars financed and rolled.
Does the dealership use the widget on the VDP to calculate in the showroom, or do they have access to a standalone version, kind of like how they have with like their current banks? Is there a standalone version they just doom in a few numbers and then it'll...
Yeah, exactly. They have an internal thing that automatically spits it out based on whatever CRM and DMS they're doing, so they don't have to go to the website to see it. The customer-facing piece is the website.
Does their $500 first payment hit immediately, even if they are now set up with Ally?
Yeah, I think that's the cleanest way to do it.
Because they don't have the widget. They're paying for the widget. That's what they're paying for.
Yeah.
Will commission eventually be paid via Stripe? We'll work on payment methods. We'd probably be able to do PayPal or maybe even checks. If John wants to print checks, it's up to him. Get your checkbook ready. When does a potential lessee put in his credit information? That is when he puts in his application.
Yeah, when he sits down with the finance and insurance manager. If you've ever bought in a car, the salesman always hands you off to the F&I guy. If you didn't know who that guy was, that's the guy that then sits with you goes through all the loan and then tries to upsell you on, well, we have a warranty program. Oh, and we have a service program. And oh, we have the M3 clear coat invisible bra for your. That's the F&I guy. Tries to give you all the upsells once the salesman delivers you to his office.
Like I was saying with the point bumping, yeah, the dealers do make money on the back end. So I'm going to presume that when the approval does come down, let's say on the website it's displayed in the fine print between 1.5 and I'm just throwing numbers out, 1.5 and 3.5%, they will get an approval at like 2 and then maybe bump it to 2.5 so they can make some money on the back end. Is there any way to do a 2-week trial?
Leasing's usually cheaper, by the way, just so everyone knows. That's why leasings work so well.
Gotcha. Is there a way to do a 2-week free trial? It probably takes 2 weeks just to set it up. I doubt that's doable.
No, I mean, the flip side, right? I wouldn't charge significantly more than 500, but I wouldn't let it go with any free trials, right? And I would get a credit card payment up front. So, I wouldn't go above 500 necessarily, or maybe just marginally above 500, but then again, there's no reason to do it free either.
Can we define the minimum price for our dealers that sign up? Yeah, you can put in, let's say if you're charging them $450, well, then you're only making 50, and if you have a salesman that's selling it, then you got to split that in half. It's not even worth your time. You want to make at least 100 on every single account that you close.
500 is a good price for this. It's right in a good spot where they don't need to go higher above them to get a higher approval for that amount. If an F&I manager likes it, it's the right amount. Versus, hey, I want to spend $5,000 on this new product. Well, you're going to have to get approval from the board on that one.
Now, and I got to remember, you got to remember too, this is not the only product we have. If this is the door opener, make a little on 6 products and you own the dealer as opposed to trying to, slam dunk it with one.
Very good source for finding people to sell this is go to Craigslist in the area you're targeting. Not only is there people that post jobs, but there's also people that are looking for work, and they put their experience, their resume right on the Craigslist post. So Craigslist is a very good source as well for those types of.
You'll find lots of door-to-door salesmen. There's a friend of mine owns a solar company, and that's how he gets all his salesmen to go out. And he's like, I got one guy that made $50,000 last month because they're going door-to-door selling solar. And he's like, yeah, I look for him off Craigslist because he's like, as my business grew, I needed more guys to go out and knock doors and say, hey, how come you don't have solar panels yet? And yeah, so that's where he goes. Works for him.
Jim says, should we also talk with the sales manager? No, you should talk to the finance manager.
Finance. They're the ones that are going to be like, you're going to save me having to remember calculus? Done.
Kevin says, please set up Michael and I on lot links, Keith. Ray,
okay.
Ray says this should be a good foot in the door. I think adding this plus giving them a beacon that broadcasts that they do used car leasing is huge, because on Saturday and Sunday when some dealers are closed, there are going to be people on the lot looking at cars, and they're going to say, wow, I just got this message that says that they do used car leasing, and we can save 40% off versus financing, something like that. Kevin says we are going to do that about 1,350 times at the show. We're getting very close to the end, guy. I'm getting towards the end of the questions here. If you give them 2 beacons, one for new, one for used cars vehicles, and some NFC cards, $1,000 a month should be very reasonable. I agree, Joe. I agree.
I concur.
Stupid. Do we collect payment, or is it taken care of by us? It's taken care of by us. Will the dealer see that we are earning 100 on the registration page? No, not at all. Finance managers are much easier to reach.
Absolutely.
Trey says we should be charging $750 to $1,000. No dealer will say no to that price for the service, and it has more realistic profit margin for us in the automotive. Trey, it's all you, man. Hit the street.
Hey, you know what you could do, right? I mean, I don't want to complicate the issue, but if you want to charge $1,000, package it with text chat, right? Or package it with another product, right? Then you're covered.
Yeah, there you go. Because then if they do talk shop with another dealer, they'll be like, oh, well, actually, I also have another product with it. That's brilliant, John.
Hey, John, this is a good question because you owned a dealer before. What does the dealer F&I department make per deal?
Well, let's put it this way. Typically, your normal new car dealer might break even to lose a little money on the actual sale, but the F&I makes it all up, right? F&I usually makes between $1,000 and $1,200 per copy.
Does the guarantee to the dealer apply to the deals they do with their captive lease lenders?
The guarantee will apply to used car lease or with the widget with Ally Financial. Right? The OEM's a different story, but the OEM's much easier to calculate. They don't need a guarantee on that one.
Kevin says, John, really need the call for the show.
No problem. I'm warning you. I get a little brain dead after a certain time at night, so I might be babbling a little bit, but I'm just warning you.
Kevin and Michael, just make sure Skype me or email me your phone numbers to make sure I have them.
Kevin says we are ready to sell the daylights on a beacon stamp, but we need to complete our signage for the printing. Congratulations, Kevin. It sounds like you guys have got big plans. Question, if a dealer signs up directly on ThinkALease with our rep ID and we agree on a $6 rooftop, how will you know what the monthly fee to charge them? Because we're going to ask you, BJ. If a dealer goes to the website, signs up and uses their ID number, and then we're charging them $750 or something other than $500, what happens when they try to sign up on their own? They can't sign up on their own because the ID is required, and once the ID is received, we're going to ask you how much you are requesting them to be invoiced. Michael says, I think you addressed this, the articles that John did, he's going to post those. I'm going to try to find, I'm going to just skim through this.
I mean, these articles were a great sales tool for me in the beginning because I was just like, have you read this cover story or this one or this one? And it was all about geofencing or it's about sales text chat or this and that. They're like, no, this is brilliant. And I'm like, yeah, do you have that system? No, but we should probably get it. I'm like, I know where you can get it.
Scott says, mega, thank you guys. This is cool. Awesome. He also says, rockin' like Dockin'. Hey, man, that's my favorite hairband, Dockin'. Yeah.
And I know this is kind of outside the box of disruptive technologies, but this is going to disrupt the automotive industry for sure. So this is seriously a disruptive technology, so it fits right in with Beacon Snap.
That's awesome.
And it all fits in together. I've got to add this. It's like there are some other resellers of lot links out there. Not a lot, but there's some. But nobody's going to offer the ThinkALease used car widget. Nobody can pair it up with text chat. Right? Nobody has Beacon Snap technology. And so when you put the entire package together, like I say, you can charge a minimum for something like the used car lease calculator widget and still wrap it around and package it with 2 or 3 other products and make a margin, right? And it all sort of fits in together. Certainly lot links, driving track to VDP, the lease calculation widget, and text chat all kind of fall in together because it all is focusing on that VDP and making it very easy for the customer to get attracted to dealer A's VDP because they're driving traffic to the VDP page. They've got a lease price that the other guy doesn't have on a used car, and they have a communication tool called text chat on there, right? So while you'll find individual vendors for most of this stuff, although you won't for the used car leasing widget, right? You don't find anybody that wraps the whole thing together. Right? And so you have the ability to do that and have flexible pricing, right? And have a large margin because you've got so many products that fit together so well. I mean, that kind of is our goal. right, to give you a competitive advantage over anybody else out there, simply because you have products that fit together, that are unique on their own, but put together are completely unique.
Can we mention John's, Keith's, Ed's name to anybody we sell this to, especially in the automotive industry? Yeah, you might get further along mentioning John.
Yeah, like I said, when I go to NADA with John, we can't walk 2 feet without being stopped because everybody knows John. Everybody. So use his name drop his name like it's hot. I'm telling you, it'll get you in some VIP parties.
That's the big thing.
John used to be the man who threw the largest VIP parties in Vegas for these people.
That's way back when I was young, which is really a long time ago.
How can Beacon Snap guarantee this? Is it a bonded program? It's not Beacon Snap guaranteeing it, John. You want to explain that?
Yeah, no. The thing is, Ally guarantees their basically their printed book, and we guarantee to represent it completely. So the pass-through is really the Ally guarantee, more or less. We guarantee that we will not make a mistake. If we make a mistake, we'll back it up. But we don't make a mistake because it's all automatically automated. So,
Keith, good question for you. Maybe a good question for Zach. Customer-facing widget does not appear to accept the credit score. Does it assume a very high credit score or something right in the middle?
It assumes a good credit score. It means good because ultimately you don't want to give that away because that you want to do with a face-to-face so that if the credit does come back bad, the F&I guy is suave enough to get you to buy the car anyways, even though it's going to cost you more. Or figure out how to, okay, well, let's do more down. What's your trade-in? What they do all the massaging of the deal if they find out your credit's less than good. So that's why we don't put that out there. Go put your credit score in. And a lot of people don't know their credit score. I know there's Credit Karma and all that crap out there, but a lot of people, they have no idea what their credit score is anyways. And so they're going to go in and they're going to run the credit. And even if they say, I know my score, they're going to be like, I know you know your score, but we got to run it for ourselves. So
it all depends, too. I mean, you could have the most horrible credit, but just go to any buy here, pay here lot. If you got a certain amount to put down, they're going to treat you very well on the finance.
Yeah. Some people just want a utility bill and a license.
That happened to me.
That's why I say that.
I don't think, John, did I tell you about that?
What's that?
So I'm at this website and I'm looking for a new BMW 750 and I call the guy and then I was like, yeah, I go back and forth text. I don't want this guy to rip up I'm in the process of wanting to buy a house too. So I don't want like 1,000 finance companies running my credit, just ruin it. So my home interest rate when I buy a house is going to be huge because of that. So I went back and forth, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and pull the trigger. So I applied, and they understand that they only wanted my credit run once. So they ran my credit, and then the guy calls me back and says, yeah, just bring your license and bring a utility bill, and you can drive off. No down payment, no proof of work history, nothing. Now I'm stuck with a $1,700 a month payment. But it's a beautiful car.
So I'll give you a dealer story that's kind of funny, right? Because it's similar along those lines. So a guy walks into the store, no fooling, and tells everyone he won the Publishers Clearinghouse for the $50 million, right? 3 salesmen completely blow him off as a loon, and he's saying, "Look, I won. I'm going to get my check. I'm going to get my check soon." Right? 4th guy hits him. He was actually the bright guy. He said, "Well, you're going to get this check. You don't want to be driving around in that vehicle, right? You got to have top of the line, everything we have, right?" And sure enough, the guy rolls out with the car he's probably still in because he paid such a high price to it. But he wanted to prove to everybody how he was winning this $50 million thing. So obviously he ran out with the best car possible in a full list deal, and it was quite a thing to see that happen.
And
it didn't matter whether he got the $50 million or not. You sold that guy a car and he's gone.
Yeah, no, the guy's credit was fantastic. I mean, it was
doesn't
just
matter if he's as long as you can sell it.
But it was amazing how the salesman said, well, you know what? I mean, 3 of them just blew him off like, yeah, right, you're nuts. So the 4th guy said, well, hold on a second, and ran the guy's credit. I said, well, you're getting this big number. You don't want to be seen in the car you're driving, and let me show you what you really need to be in. And boom, the guy ran out with the car. It was kind of interesting.
Awesome.
Here's the kicker to my story, though. About 10 years, I was in dire straits financially. So I decided at some point, I'm not proud of this. I walked away. I literally walked away from $150,000 in loan and credit card debt. I just said, I'm never answering the phone again, and I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait 10 years for my credit to build back up. And then I just drove away in a brand new 758i Beamer. Amazing. Oh, man. And that stuff was still on my credit report, too. I couldn't believe that I got approved. I was like, I just did it out of poops and giggles. All right.
Wow.
Any chance that y'all could set up a minimal to 650? Hey, you guys can set the price whatever you want it at. It's up to you. We're not going to set the minimum price, but we want you to make $100 minimum. This brings me to another question I've seen that I probably overlooked it. So let's say, John, you approach a dealership group. They have 15 dealers. How would you handle a discount on that particular deal?
Well, it depends. Usually I can't close all 15 at the same time. Usually say try this store, 1 or 2 stores, and that I won't discount at all. Right? And then when they say, yeah, let's do them all, I'll usually kick in a decent discount. But at that point, again, I would try to sell an additional product that goes with it and see if I could discount.
Yeah, that's
not really discount because I'm adding a product and then I'm discounting them both.
I agree. That's the better route. Throw in another product as opposed to discounting your price.
And you guys got lots of product to throw in.
Yeah.
Not like lacking.
Presumably, John and Keith, that the extended warranties or the current manufacturer warranty will go along with the leases too?
Yeah,
Yes.
That's all standard.
And sometimes they'll get upsold, so that widget doesn't factor buying extended lease, correct? Or extended warranty.
Correct, yeah. Or buy our our M3 invisible bra for your car and all that extra stuff adds to the price all of a sudden because the widget is calculating the price based on that MSRP that's showing. I'm sorry, I got so many windows open here at this point that I forget where that one was at, but yeah, right here. It's based on that MSRP, right? So obviously, if they're going to spend another $4,000 in other, upsells, then that's going to change it.
Dennis, you're funny, man. He says, I guess you guys really aren't gurus, or it would have been $497 per month, not $5. That is the comment of the day.
I resemble that comment, and I thank you for it.
All right, guys, the minimum is now $497 because I want to be. We stated this before. You guys do not take the payments. We take the payments just for the service. And just so you know, any person you put through the register a business link, show that to them again, Keith, real quick. We're getting towards the end of the call.
Yeah, we're getting close. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm losing track of all the things I have open. I'm sorry.
ThinkALease.
Where is it? Right here. Okay.
All right. So register a business.
Right.
If you read that very closely, go up.
Up here? Or go down?
Upon submission, we will contact the dealer to begin monthly payments for the service. Set up their account and explain further importance of the service. We will only contact your client for the purpose of this transaction. It will not sell or upsell any other services on anyone else's behalf. So once they're in our system and we contact them, you're just the name of the person who referred it. It's up to you to upsell anybody else. We're not going to ask them to do anything else.
Yeah. And I'd just say, even if I did, it would all go to you anyways. If by chance I happen to talk to some dealer for some reason, or someone said, well, can you talk to my guy or help me out or whatever, and I'm a pretty nice guy, and I happen to be like, hey, have you thought about using mobile wallet to do this? Oh, no, that'd be great. Oh, yeah, we'll get you all set up with that. I'm not taking that. That's yours. You can ask, who was it? I met with somebody for lunch. I forget who it was now because I get so many people that I'm trying to talk to. And I did the pitch kit right in front of him at the sandwich shop we met at. And the deal hasn't happened. It was a big change, so it wasn't going to happen. But the guy was like, "Well, who do I talk to?" And I'm like, "You call him." And I made him give them his card. I'm like, I'm not here to do that. So I forget who that was now. David, I think. But anyways.
All right, we're almost at the end here. Kevin says, seriously though, we need to speak with John tonight for a copy of our signage and some success stories with Beacon Snap.
We got you covered.
He goes on to say, John, I'm trying to remember how I know you. I used to be the CEO of Kazin Media Holdings. And
we figured we've been going back and forth by text here. Yep. Kevin's an old pro.
And partners with Kim Hackett. Ring a bell?
One of the best. Yep.
Awesome. Terry says, overwhelmed, but thanks.
Better over than under.
Yep. Trey says, sorry for beating a dead horse on the pricing. I'm more out. Judy says you don't even need a license in Michigan to drive a car.
That's awesome.
The dealer told me, just bring in a government-issued ID and a utility, or just screw it, bring the utility bill and you can drive off. All right, with that said, guys, we're going to close this one out. We're at 2 hours. Man, what a marathon.
Wow. Holy cow.
Man, these other gurus out there, they charge $497 for a intensive that is 2 hours. So hope you guys enjoyed the marathon. Keith, you're going to set up the Beacon Snap supplemental for Thursday. You choose
Thursday or Friday. Let me look at my schedule. I got so many appointments with people I'm trying to, handle and help and this and that. I got to look and see where I have a window. So I'll find a window and I will post it for everybody.
Let's take a quick survey before we close out. Hey, if you guys can make it on Thursday for a Beacon Snap supplemental, put in a 1. If Friday, put in a 2. I'm getting it's about 50-50.
Okay.
So, okay.
I assume about the same time as what everybody wants, so I'll
our mornings
see what I can do.
Are mornings good for you or afternoons?
For me?
It doesn't have to be night.
Yeah, I mean, a morning, like tomorrow, I'm more flexible. It might be, I don't know. I don't know yet. I can't say for sure tomorrow morning, but tomorrow I will say, okay, tomorrow it's going to happen. Tomorrow's Thursday. It'll happen tomorrow. It'll be late morning, early afternoon, and I'll post it in the Facebook group.
And thanks everybody for getting on this call. This is a gold rush. I know Keith is excited to go out there and sell it as soon as we're done setting up the back office. Hopefully
I can get away from my desk, which doesn't look like that's anytime soon, but that's okay.
Hopefully, Keith, you can take in a secret mic into one of your dealerships when you're doing your pitch, because I think that people would love to hear what you have to say to a finance manager or a general manager.
I would totally do that. It's completely illegal in the state that I live in, but I'll do it. It's absolutely illegal to record anyone without their knowledge in the state of California, period.
Just do it anyway.
But I'll do it anyway.
Vince says, F it, tape it. All right, guys. What we showed you today, we're going to be cleaning up over the next 24 hours, so we just wanted to have something to show you guys and let you guys know that John is already out there selling it and doing great with it. So,
and so can you. It's ready to go, guys.
Yeah, we want you guys to be successful. We want to hear some great success stories from you guys. So with that said, we'll see you on the supplemental on Thursday or Friday. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.